welcome to the Cosmic Egg Stories. Here today we will be talking about the story of the 7-year famine. From Kemet, ancient Egypt. In the 18th year of the king Chizar, the third king of the third dynasty, the whole region of the south, the island of Elephantine, and the district of Nubia were ruled by the high official Meta. The king sent a dispatch to Meta informing him that he was in great grief by reason of the reports which were brought to him into the palace as he sat upon his throne, and because for 7 years there had been no satisfactory inundation of the Nile. As the result of this, grain of every kind was very scarce, vegetables and garden produce of every kind could not be found, and in fact, the people had very little food to eat, and they were in such need that men were robbing their neighbors. Men wished to walk out, but could not do so for want of strength. Children were crying for food, young men collapsed through lack of food, and the spirits of the aged were crushed to the earth, and they laid themselves down on the ground to die. In this terrible trouble King Chizar remembered the god Imhotep, the son of Ptah of the South Wall, who, it would seem, had once delivered Egypt from a similar calamity, but as his help was no longer forthcoming, Chizar asked his governor Meta to tell him where the Nile rose, and what god or goddess was its tutelary duty. In answer to this dispatch, Meta made his way immediately to the king and gave him information on the matters about which he had asked questions. He told him that the Nile flood came forth from the island of Elephantine, whereon stood the first city that ever existed. Out of it rose the sun when he went forth to bestow life upon man, and therefore it is also called, doubly sweet life. The spot on the island out of which the river rose was the double cavern Kirti, which was likened to 2 breasts, from which all good things poured forth. This double cavern was, in fact, the couch of the Nile, and from it the Nile god watched until the season of inundation drew nigh, and then he rushed forth like a vigorous young man and filled the whole country. The guardian of this flood was Kemet, and it was he who kept the doors that held it in, and who drew back the bolts at the proper time. Meta next went on to describe the temple of Kemet at Elephantine and told his royal master that the other gods in were Supdit, Sothis, Ankhet, Harpi, Shu, Jeb, Nut, Osiris, Horus, Isis and Nephthys, and after this he enumerated the various products that were found in the neighborhood, and from which offerings ought to be made to Kemet. When the king heard these words he offered up sacrifices to the god, and in due course went into his temple to make supplication before him. Finally Kemet appeared before him, and said, I am Kemet the Creator. My hands rest upon thee to protect thy person, and to make sound thy body. I gave thee thine heart. I am he who created himself. I am the primeval watery abyss, and I am the Nile who riseth at his will to give health for me to those who toil. I am the guide and director of all men, the Almighty, the father of the gods, Shu, the mighty possessor of the earth. Finally the god promised that the Nile should rise every year, as in olden time, and described the good which should come upon the land when he had made an end of the famine. When Kemet ceased to speak, King Chizar remembered that the god had complained that no one took the trouble to repair his shrine, even though stone lay near in abundance, and he immediately issued a decree in which it was ordered that certain lands on each side of the Nile near Elephantine should be set apart for the endowment of the temple of Kemet, and that a certain tax should be levied upon every product of the neighborhood, and devoted to the maintenance of the priesthood of the god. The original text of the decree was written upon wood, and as this was not lasting, the king ordered that a copy of it should be cut upon a stone stele which should be set in a prominent place. That's all for today. Stay tuned for more and thank you for watching.